Imagine a landscape of abundance transformed into a hellscape of fire and ash. This is the story of how one valley's destruction hastened the end of a nation's war. A single orange flame licks at the dry, weathered wood of a barn door. It hesitates for a moment, then greedily consumes the timber, erupting into a roaring blaze that punches a hole in the twilight sky. Sparks dance like angry fireflies, carried on a wind that smells of smoke and ruin. A man's face, etched with deep lines of exhaustion and disbelief, is illuminated by the inferno. He watches the work of a lifetime, the harvest of an entire year, turn to black ash before his eyes. We pull back, revealing not one but a dozen pillars of smoke scarring the horizon, then 50, then 100. This is Virginia, the autumn of 1864. This is the Shenandoah Valley, the verdant, rolling heart of the Confederacy, and it is being put to the torch. The map of the American Civil War shows a nation cleaved in two, a jagged scar running from north to south. 4 years of brutal, bloody conflict have bled both sides white. Trenches filled with mud and misery snake across the landscape. The faces of soldiers are gaunt, their blue and gray uniforms tattered and stained with the grit of endless campaigns. In the east, two titans are locked in a death grip. The relentless Union General Ulysses S. Grant squeezes the life from Robert E. Lee's legendary Army of Northern Virginia. But Lee's army does not fight on courage alone. It fights on bread and bacon and corn. And that food flows from one critical artery, the Shenandoah Valley. 100 miles of fertile farmland, a natural corridor protected by mountains. It is the granary of the South. Its harvests fill Confederate wagons. Its livestock feed Confederate soldiers. To cut this artery is to starve the rebellion into submission. The order comes from the highest levels of Union command. The task falls to a man forged in the crucible of war, General Philip Sheridan. We see him now, a short, barrel-chested man atop a powerful black horse. His eyes are dark, intense, burning with a restless energy. His uniform is dusty, his face hardened by the sun and the immense weight of his command. He carries with him a new, terrible kind of order, not just to defeat an army, but to destroy a landscape. To make the valley so barren that a crow flying over it would have to carry its own rations. The great machine of the Union Army begins to move. Thousands of blue-coated soldiers march into the valley, their boots kicking up clouds of golden dust from the country roads. Sunlight glints off the polished steel of their bayonets, a river of men and metal flowing into the heart of the enemy. Their faces are a mixture of grim determination and youthful uncertainty. They pass fields heavy with ripe corn, past orchards laden with apples. The air is sweet with the smell of the coming harvest. An officer on horseback unfurls a written order, the paper crinkling in his gloved hand. He reads the words aloud to his assembled men. His voice is flat, devoid of emotion, yet the command is monstrous. Destroy it all. A young private, barely 18, grips his rifle tighter, his knuckles white. He looks from his officer to the peaceful farmhouse nestled in a grove of trees just ahead. A thin line of smoke curls from its chimney. The first torch is lit. A soldier, his face smeared with soot, holds the flaming brand aloft. He hesitates for a fraction of a second, his eyes catching sight of a child's swing hanging from a nearby oak tree. Then, his jaw sets. He thrusts the torch into a pile of dry hay at the base of a towering barn. The flames catch instantly, a whoosh of sound followed by the crackle of burning wood. The scene repeats again and again with chilling efficiency. A column of Union cavalry gallops into a farmstead. Doors are kicked open. Families are ordered out, their faces a mask of terror and confusion. Soldiers with axes splinter furniture and smash looms. They pour sacks of flour onto the dirt floor, grinding it into the earth with their muddy boots. A massive, well-built stone mill stands beside a rushing creek. For generations, its great water wheel has turned, grinding wheat into flour. Now, Union engineers use sledgehammers to methodically shatter the massive millstones, ensuring they will never turn again. The rhythmic, percussive clang of steel on stone echoes through the valley, a death knell for the region's livelihood. The livestock are next. A herd of cattle, their eyes wide with panic, are driven from a pasture. The sharp, successive cracks of rifle fire roll across the hills. One by one the animals fall. There is no butchering, no harvesting of meat. The bodies are left to rot in the fields, a gruesome testament to this new strategy of total war. Day after day, the campaign of destruction continues. The sky, once a brilliant autumn blue, becomes a permanent, hazy gray, thick with the smoke of countless fires. The sun is a pale, sickly disk hanging in the heavens. At night, the entire valley floor glows with a terrible, undulating red light, as if the gates of hell itself have opened. A Union soldier sits by a campfire, the flames of a burning barn reflected in his vacant eyes. He cleans his rifle, his movements mechanical, his mind 1,000 miles away. He no longer sees the homes, only the targets. He no longer smells the harvest, only the smoke. The numbers are staggering, clinical in their brutality. 2,000 barns, filled to the rafters with grain and hay, are reduced to smoldering embers. 70 grist mills are shattered and burned. Countless homes are left as hollow, blackened shells. The breadbasket of the Confederacy is systematically, ruthlessly broken. We see a slow pan across the valley floor. What was once a patchwork of green and gold is now a uniform landscape of black and gray. A lone chimney, stripped of the house it once served, stands like a tombstone against the smoky sky. General Sheridan rides through the desolation his army has created. His face is unreadable, a mask of iron resolve. He looks upon the blackened fields, the skeletal remains of farms, the pillars of smoke that continue to rise in the distance. This is not the glory of a cavalry charge, not the thrill of a battle won. This is the cold, hard calculus of war, a war he is determined to end, no matter the cost. His scorched earth policy is a cruel weapon, but it strikes a fatal blow. The food that would have fed Lee's army through the coming winter now exists only as ash on the wind. The smoke finally begins to clear, revealing a land irrevocably scarred. The first snows of winter fall gently on the blackened earth, a white shroud covering the wounds of the valley. But the damage is done. The flow of supplies to the Confederate army slows to a trickle, then stops. The soldiers in the trenches around Richmond will grow hungrier, weaker. The destruction of the Shenandoah Valley creates a specter of starvation that will haunt the Confederacy through its final, agonizing months. This brutal campaign demonstrates a fundamental shift in the American Civil War. It is no longer a war fought only between armies on distant battlefields. It has become a war against an entire people's will to resist, a war on the resources that sustain the fight. The flames that consumed the barns of the Shenandoah were a terrible harbinger of the modern, total warfare that would come to define the next century. The valley would eventually recover, its fields turning green once more, but the memory of the fire and the smoke would linger, a permanent scar on the American soul. Tell me your favorite war story I should talk about next. Don't forget to subscribe and like the video.